our teeth on that. A principle that I use with my left hand that I began or noticed first on my right hand is that principle of locking things together. My hand, once it's, I actually use kind of my index finger as like a bar and work everything off of that. Like it's always clamped on there. My finger always has like two calluses, one for like it covers 2 strings, sometimes 3 strings. Lock my hand on so that as it falls onto the bass, automatically you cover 4 frets with 4 fingers like that. So that's your standard position, always locked in there. Sometimes my thumb is on top, sometimes behind. I'm never sure which is really right or not.
Pursuing that, would it be pretty useful to use a chromatic scale to develop your left hand?
Yeah. What's a chromatic scale? No,
4 notes in a row.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I do as an exercise. You can do that backwards, forwards, start it from the middle, out, or stagger it. Any configuration you can think of. But what I do basically is exercise my fingers so that any combination is worked out in exercise, and also I do exercising without my right hand sometimes, because you'll find if occasionally you do an exercise with just one hand independently, right hand alone or left hand alone, if you watch your playing, sometimes you'll notice that your left hand will cover for your right and vice versa.
You can focus maybe more as you separate them too.
Yeah, I focus on who's doing what, whereas they cover for each other's mistakes, kind of. If your left hand is weak in an area, your right hand will kind of beef up the move there to make up for it. So what I try to do sometimes, not all the time because you'll lose your coordination between hands, but work on my left hand alone just to make sure I see what it's doing. You can feel the weak spots in it, especially when you do exercises like that are across, playing all those notes. I feel, this is definitely the weaker finger, so I definitely feel that. So I'll work on that across the neck, like that. And again, I play mostly in patterns, so this is the pattern, all 4 fingers across all 4 strings on 4 frets. Now you notice that when you're actually playing music, you're going to have to get up to stretch like that.
Of course.
You probably actually wouldn't, in most music you'd never stretch more than that, really, than 4. Than however many frets that is, 5 frets or whatever it is. So that's where it comes into play how I actually, musically what I play. I've concentrated mostly, as we've been talking about what to play, because it's pretty much my philosophy. I'd really not show people notes, show them the notes that, and scales. You can get that out of any book. Bach wrote it all down 100 years ago, 200 years ago, so there's really no point in me going over what scales, because I really don't know them anyway. But what I concentrate in mostly is just my hands and how they work, so that's kind of what the purpose of all this is. And the thing I do for my right hand is I basically do, in all my musical playing, there's only 3 patterns. I'm a pattern player, and there's only 3 patterns. The first pattern is 2 whole step. Whole step, whole step. The next pattern is a whole step and a half step. And the other pattern, third, next, is a half step and a whole step. So that's all 3 patterns of major scale.
Right.
So whenever you're playing a major scale, those 3 patterns will be in there. And so if you practice and exercise those 3 patterns in every conceivable manner on one string, it would stand to reason, theoretically, that you could eventually parlay that into being able to play any scale anywhere with fluidity.
Covering all the modes and
Yeah.
all the diatonic possibilities.
Well, there you go with those music words again there. Diatonic meaning?
Meaning just a normal 7-note scale, like a major scale.
Yeah,
generating
okay.
all the modes that go with it.
I'm not even kidding. I really don't know what that means. But I know I'll probably play some diatonic stuff
Absolutely.
here. I didn't even know. I played some diatomaceous stuff here earlier. But what basically we're doing, here's the two patterns. I'll show how it works. Here's the two patterns. There's one of them.
Right.
That's the other one. Now whenever I do a scale, like a C major or G major scale, actually it only goes
Right, before you hit the octave.
right, but I'll extend it across all notes that I can play of that scale in that position. So that would include that F sharp. So that's all the notes of the G major scale in that position. Exactly.
Yes.
So then you move up to the next. That's the other pattern of the two whole steps. It's all of that one. Did I do anything diatonic yet?
They're all diatonic. You're on safe ground.
So
And that's back
have,
to an octave higher.
exactly. So if you notice, if you want to, whoever's watching this puts their tape in reverse, whatever. Only 3 patterns were included in all those.
Right.
Various groupings of those patterns, but they're all 2 whole step and a half step and a whole step. That's all that there is, and it's